There are moments in life when silence feels deafening, when the world around you is busy with sound and motion, yet deep inside, you sense a void that cannot be filled by anything external. This silence is not peace. It is the painful quiet of disconnection, the unsettling awareness that the channel linking you to the universe has somehow closed. Many people live this experience without ever naming it. They pursue success, repeat affirmations, and dive into endless techniques of manifestation, yet their hearts remain heavy, their intuition clouded, and their dreams feel distant, like stars hidden behind a storm. The greatest suffering is not the lack of results. It is the sense of being unseen by the very universe they long to trust. In this video, we will walk through a journey of remembering and reawakening. The theme is not about forcing abundance to appear, nor about chasing miracles as if they were trophies. It is about uncovering the subtle error that cuts off your intuitive connection with the divine field and learning how to gently realign your frequency so that communication with the universe becomes natural again. When you understand how this error takes root, not in your thoughts alone but in the quiet tension of your body and the stories you repeat to yourself, you begin to see why your manifestations stall, why your prayers feel unanswered, and why intuition seems like a language you no longer speak. Our work here is to explore how to reopen that channel. We will examine the ways unresolved emotions build walls, how living on autopilot steals the sacred pause, and how fear convinces you that you are unworthy of guidance. Together, we will discover a simple but profound daily protocol that aligns your energy field with clarity and invites intuition to return like a trusted friend. This is not about complexity or perfection. It is about presence, consistency, and the courage to stop performing spirituality and start embodying it. By the end of this journey, you will not just know intellectually how to reconnect with the universe. You will feel it in your breath, in your heartbeat, and in the synchronicities that begin to weave through your everyday life. It often begins with an unease that is difficult to name, a kind of background static that never seems to quiet down. You try meditation, you repeat affirmations, you visualize outcomes with all the intensity you can gather, but somewhere inside, you feel that the signal is not getting through. The question rises late at night when sleep does not come easily. Why do I feel disconnected when I am doing everything I was taught to do? This unspoken frustration is the seed of the error that so many carry. It is not a lack of effort, not a weakness of belief, but a subtle fracture between your body's frequency and the clarity of your intention. The universe has not turned away from you. Rather, your own energy is tangled in unresolved patterns that muffle the connection. Disconnection does not usually appear suddenly. It is built over time, through small betrayals of your inner truth. Each time you ignore your body's signals, dismiss your exhaustion, silence your sadness, or pretend to be fine when your spirit is aching, you add another layer of static. This static is not loud at first. It hides under routines, under responsibilities, under the endless search for techniques and new practices. The tragedy is that most people mistake this static for the natural sound of life, believing that everyone must live with such heaviness. Yet when the heart is weighed down by unacknowledged emotions, the intuitive channel cannot open fully. The universe speaks, but the message is lost in translation. One of the most overlooked aspects of spiritual practice is the state of the nervous system. Imagine trying to tune an old radio while the wires inside are frayed and loose. No matter how carefully you adjust the dial, the sound will crackle, the words will distort. The nervous system works in much the same way. When you live in a constant state of vigilance, rushing through tasks, bracing for disappointment, waiting for rejection, the body prepares for survival rather than receptivity. In that state, intuition feels threatening rather than comforting. Even if a message from the universe comes through, your body interprets it as another demand, another weight, instead of as guidance. The error then is not in wanting too much or in dreaming too big. The error lies in the tension carried silently in the body, in the unwillingness to face what has been avoided for too long. Many people speak affirmations of abundance while their bodies contract in fear of not having enough. They pray for love while their hearts remain guarded, terrified of being hurt again. They ask for clarity while clinging to the patterns that keep them safely confused. This contradiction between desire and vibration creates an energetic split. It is as if you are calling the universe with one hand while covering your ears with the other. To reopen the channel, the first step is recognition. Not recognition in the mind alone, but an honest noticing of what your body reveals. You may find that your shoulders lift unconsciously when you speak about your goals, or that your breath becomes shallow when you imagine change. These are not signs of failure, but signals of where healing must begin. When you learn to pause long enough to sense this tension, you are already breaking the cycle. The act of noticing interrupts the automatic pilot that has kept the error invisible for years. The second step is understanding that silence is not the enemy. Many who feel disconnected rush to fill the silence with more practices, more rituals, more external sources of validation. But silence, when approached without fear, becomes the space where your true frequency reveals itself. The silence shows you what is unresolved, what is aching for release, and what is ready to be transformed. In silence, you may finally hear the difference between your anxiety and your intuition, between your desperation and your deeper truth. There is a profound humility in admitting that you cannot force the universe to respond. The connection is not built through pushing harder or demanding louder. It is restored through softening. The error that cuts the channel thrives on resistance. Resistance to stillness, resistance to vulnerability, resistance to the unknown. When you begin to release this resistance, the static decreases. The body starts to find its natural rhythm again, and the heart remembers how to trust. A simple image may help. Picture a stream covered with fallen leaves. The water underneath is still flowing, but the surface looks stagnant and heavy. The leaves are the unexpressed emotions, the ignored fatigue, the unspoken grief. The current is the universe, constant and unchanging. To reconnect, you do not need to create water. You only need to clear the surface. One leaf at a time, you allow movement to return. Slowly, the sound of flowing water replaces the silence of stillness, and you realize the stream never left you. It is important to remember that the universe does not punish or withdraw its love. The sensation of being cut off is born from within, not from above. You are not being tested in cruelty, but invited to remember your own alignment. The error is not permanent. It is a temporary distortion, a veil that can be lifted. What is required is gentleness, patience, and a willingness to see what has been unseen. This is the beginning of reopening the channel, to acknowledge the static, to pause in the silence, and to trust that beneath the layers of tension, the connection has always been waiting. In the next steps of our journey, we will go deeper into how this alignment can be restored in practical daily ways. But for now, allow yourself to sit with this recognition. The error is not who you are. It is only a pattern that has grown familiar. And just as it was built through repetition, it can be undone through new patterns of presence, awareness, and compassion. The channel is not broken beyond repair. It is simply waiting for you to clear the way. There is a hidden exhaustion that arises when spirituality becomes a performance, rather than an intimate encounter. Many seekers begin their journey with a pure longing to connect, to feel the presence of something larger than themselves. Yet, over time, that longing can transform into a checklist of rituals, an endless rehearsal of practices designed not to nourish the soul, but to prove worthiness. The weight of doing everything right becomes heavier than the joy of simply being. You light the candle, you recite the affirmations, you meditate for the exact number of minutes, yet somewhere deep inside you are still asking, why do I feel so far away from the source? This fatigue is not born from laziness or lack of devotion. It is the result of confusing spirituality with perfection. When you believe the universe requires flawless performance, every misstep feels like a betrayal. Forgetting to meditate one morning becomes evidence of failure. Losing patience during the day convinces you that you have undone months of progress. The heart, instead of opening, closes further under the pressure of self-criticism. What should be a space of freedom becomes another arena for judgment. The cycle often intensifies through comparison. In the modern world, spiritual journeys are frequently displayed in public, shared through images, stories, and declarations of awakening. It is easy to look at another person's apparent breakthroughs and assume that your own quiet struggles mean you are behind. You begin to imitate what you see, layering ritual upon ritual, chasing experiences that look radiant on the surface but feel hollow in your own body. The more you perform, the less authentic the connection feels, until the very practices that once brought peace become sources of restlessness. At the root of this struggle lies the misunderstanding of silence. Silence is often feared because it reveals what rituals sometimes hide, the raw presence of your own inner world. Without the distraction of chanting or the glow of candles, silence brings forth the voice of unresolved grief, the echoes of doubts, the weight of unanswered questions. Many avoid silence by filling the space with more techniques, believing that more action will create more connection. Yet silence is not emptiness. It is the fertile ground where the true voice of intuition emerges. To sit in silence is to strip away the performance and meet yourself as you are, without roles, without expectations. Science itself offers gentle confirmation of this truth. Periods of stillness reduce the overstimulation of the brain, allowing neural rhythms to synchronize in subtle ways. In these states, sensitivity to faint signals increases, much like a radio that can finally catch distant frequencies once the interference is quieted. Spiritually, this means that when you stop rushing for signs, you begin to notice the quiet guidance that was always present. It may come in the form of a calm certainty, a subtle attraction toward a new choice, or a sense of release when you let go of something you no longer need. But stepping into silence requires courage. It demands that you trust the universe enough to stop striving, to release the belief that you must earn guidance through relentless effort. When you allow yourself to rest, you begin to see that connection does not need to be manufactured. It only needs to be received. This is where humility transforms the experience, realizing that the universe does not need you to perform, but to align. Alignment comes not from grand gestures, but from the simple willingness to be present in truth, even when that truth feels incomplete. Imagine a garden where the caretaker waters the plants 10 times a day, moves them constantly from one corner to another, and insists on pulling at the stems to make them grow faster. The intention is good, but the result is harm. The garden does not flourish under pressure. It flourishes when given light, steady nourishment, and time. In the same way, your spiritual growth cannot be forced by excessive performance. It blossoms when you create consistent conditions of openness, trust, and patience. The lesson here is that less can truly be more. A single practice held with sincerity carries more power than a dozen rituals performed out of fear. The universe responds not to the quantity of your actions, but to the quality of your energy. When your heart beats in coherence, when your breath flows with calm, when your body rests without resistance, the channel reopens naturally. What once felt distant begins to feel near, not because you finally did enough, but because you finally allowed enough. This chapter invites you to consider the possibility that your sense of disconnection is not a sign of failure, but an invitation to release performance. The static in your channel may not be caused by neglect, but by the noise of doing too much. The way back to clarity may not be through more action, but through gentler presence. By letting go of the need to prove yourself to the universe, you rediscover that the universe was never demanding proof. It was waiting for you to simply arrive, as you are, ready to listen. Impatience is one of the most subtle yet corrosive forces that can interrupt our connection with the universe. It often arrives disguised as determination, as the fire of ambition or the hunger for transformation. Yet beneath its surface lies a trembling fear. The fear that life is passing too quickly, that opportunities are slipping away, that if answers do not come now, they may never come at all. Many seekers find themselves measuring their progress in days and weeks, setting internal deadlines for miracles, and punishing themselves when life does not unfold on schedule. This restless control of time creates a prison where intuition is suffocated, and the flow of guidance is replaced by the echo of one's own anxious demands. The human mind is naturally predictive. It is always scanning, anticipating, preparing. But when predictions are fueled by fear, every delay becomes evidence of failure. You begin to believe that the universe has overlooked you, that your prayers were not strong enough, or that you have somehow missed your one chance at alignment. What is often forgotten in this cycle is that divine timing cannot be coerced into linear schedules. Just as the seasons refuse to bloom on command, the soul's unfolding follows rhythms that extend beyond human impatience. To insist otherwise is to carry the exhausting illusion of control. Yet even within these pauses, especially within them, life is communicating. The problem is not that guidance has stopped, but that the form it takes does not match your expectations. Instead of grand revelations, The universe often offers smaller invitations: a sudden need for rest, an attraction to a new book, the urge to clean a neglected space, a quiet nudge toward a conversation. These subtle impulses are not distractions. They are the language of latency, the preparatory steps that align your being with what is still gestating. Ignoring them because they lack drama is like dismissing the first stirrings of spring because the flowers have not yet appeared. The body itself carries this wisdom. When you surrender the compulsion to force timing, your nervous system begins to recalibrate. Heart and breath settle, shoulders soften, and the mind relaxes its grip. In this state, intuition does not need to shout. It becomes a calm undercurrent, a quiet knowing that directs you without urgency. When your body trusts that it does not need to rush, the mind stops inventing false signs out of desperation. Patience, then, is not passive waiting but active alignment. It is creating the inner conditions where guidance can finally be heard. There is a profound relief in realizing that the delays you resent may actually be protections. What feels like stagnation can be the soul's way of preventing you from stepping into a reality you are not yet equipped to sustain. If prosperity were to arrive before you healed your relationship with scarcity, it would slip through your fingers. If love were to appear before you trusted your own worth, it would quickly collapse under the weight of old patterns. The waiting is not punishment, but preparation, a sacred interval where the unseen structures of your future are quietly forming. A practical way to embrace this perspective is to mark each day not by what manifested, but by what shifted internally. Did you notice greater calm in a situation that once provoked anxiety? Did you respond with honesty where you might have hidden before? Did you feel gratitude even briefly without demanding proof of change? These are the subtle markers of progress, often invisible to the impatient mind, but undeniable to the spirit. Over time, these inner adjustments build the foundation for external manifestations that can actually endure. Consider the ocean's tides as a metaphor. No matter how much you plead, the tide will not rise before its time. You can either exhaust yourself by fighting the waves, or you can align your steps with their rhythm, knowing that each ebb is followed by a return. In the same way, divine timing is governed by currents greater than human control. To walk in harmony with those currents is to move with less struggle and more trust. The illusion of control dissolves, and what remains is a quiet faith that what is yours will not pass you by. This chapter is an invitation to see waiting not as wasted time, but as sacred time. The channel to the universe is never truly closed. It only feels blocked when you demand answers on your own schedule. When you soften into patience, when you honor the signals of your body, when you welcome the subtle preparations that unfold in silence, the illusion of control fades. What emerges is not just guidance, but a deeper intimacy with the flow of life itself. In this intimacy, intuition does not need to be forced. It simply returns, steady and clear, like the tide coming home to the shore. When the channel feels clouded, decisions become a source of confusion and anxiety. You weigh one option against another, looking for signs in every corner, hoping the universe will send you an unmistakable answer. Yet the more pressure you place on choosing correctly, the less certain you feel. It is like walking through dense fog, each step tentative, each path appearing only as you move forward. In this state, even the smallest decision can feel overwhelming, because it is not only about the choice itself, but about the fear of betraying your intuition. True clarity in decision-making arises not from forcing the universe to speak louder, but from cultivating inner coherence. Coherence is the state where body, mind, and values move in alignment rather than in conflict. When the nervous system is calm, when the breath is steady, and when the heart beats in rhythm rather than tension, your thoughts become clearer and less reactive. In this space, intuition is not a dramatic revelation, but a gentle certainty. You do not need to struggle for the right answer, because the right direction emerges naturally, without urgency. Many believe intuition will always appear as a sudden burst of inspiration, a lightning bolt of insight. While that can happen, more often intuition feels like a compass rather than a map. A compass does not reveal the entire terrain or every turn ahead. It simply points north. Intuition works the same way. It does not guarantee that you will never face challenges, but it points you toward the path that sustains your coherence. When you honor that direction, even in small steps, you find yourself moving with greater ease because you are no longer at war with your own energy. The quality of your questions also matters. Asking, "What is the right choice?" and often paralyzes you because it assumes there is only one correct answer and that every other path is a mistake. But when you shift the question to, "Which choice keeps me aligned with my values and allows me to grow?" the energy softens. Suddenly you are not searching for perfection, but for coherence. This shift reduces fear because you are no longer looking for an external guarantee. You are listening for an internal resonance. To illustrate, imagine standing before two paths. One promises quick results but requires you to abandon integrity. The other may take longer but resonates with the value you hold most deeply. From the outside, both may seem viable, yet within your body, only one path feels steady. The decision then is not about which path looks better, but about which path keeps your energy intact. By choosing coherence, you protect your future self from regret, because you know you remain true to what mattered most. This is not about avoiding mistakes entirely. Even choices made in alignment can bring unexpected difficulties. But when you decide from coherence, challenges do not feel like punishment. They feel like growth. You can face them without the torment of believing you strayed from your intuition. Instead, you carry the quiet strength of knowing you chose with integrity, and that strength becomes the anchor that carries you through. It is also important to recognize when no choice feels coherent. Sometimes the most aligned action is to wait, to gather more information, to allow clarity to ripen naturally. This waiting is not the same as avoidance. It is a conscious pause, a recognition that forcing a decision in the midst of confusion only adds more noise. In these moments, patience itself is a form of decision, a choice to remain still until the fog clears. The metaphor of a compass serves again here. A compass does not rush you forward. It simply holds steady until you are ready to take the next step. When you carry that image within, you stop demanding dramatic revelations from the universe and start trusting the subtle pull of direction. You learn to move with steadiness rather than urgency, with faith rather than fear. In the end, clarity is less about eliminating uncertainty and more about cultivating a state where uncertainty does not terrify you. When body and mind are coherent, when your values are honored, and when your pace respects divine timing, decisions become less about avoiding mistakes and more about living authentically. The return of clarity is not a gift handed down from above. It is the natural result of inner alignment. And when clarity returns, the channel with the universe no longer feels distant. It is present in each choice, in each breath, in each step you take with coherence and trust. The journey we have walked together is not about learning new tricks to manipulate the universe, but about remembering how to restore the original clarity of your inner channel. Disconnection does not mean abandonment. It is the result of static that builds when unresolved emotions, impatience, and performance overshadow presence. We began by recognizing the silent error that cuts off intuitive guidance, hidden not in lack of belief, but in the tension held within the body. We then uncovered how spiritual performance, doing more to prove our worth, creates noise that drowns the very silence where wisdom speaks. We reflected on the illusion of control over divine timing, understanding that waiting is not emptiness, but sacred preparation. And finally, we discovered how clarity returns when coherence leads our decisions, transforming intuition from a mysterious force into a steady compass. These insights converge into a single truth: the universe has never stopped speaking to you. Its language is not always dramatic, but it is constant, flowing through silence, through subtle impulses, through the alignment of body and values. The channel is never broken beyond repair. It is always waiting for you to soften, to breathe, to listen. Trust emerges not from demanding signs, but from allowing the heart to rest in coherence. Transformation is not about forcing results, but about cultivating the inner conditions where abundance, love, and guidance can find a home. Your life does not need to be defined by disconnection. The same energy that created stars and oceans is within you, ready to guide and expand your journey. Each pause, each breath, each small choice in alignment is a step back into the current of divine connection. When you honor this process, manifestation stops being a struggle and becomes a natural expression of your restored frequency. You are not chasing the universe. It is already with you, waiting for your yes. Now I leave you with one question. Are you ready to release the static, return to your own coherence, and finally hear what the universe has been whispering to you all along? If this message resonates with you, take a moment to subscribe to the channel, because every week we deepen this journey of manifestation, intuition, and spiritual alignment. By subscribing, you are choosing to walk in community with others who are awakening to their true connection with the universe. And before you leave, continue this exploration by watching the video waiting for you on the screen. It will guide you deeper into the practices that sustain clarity and help you live in the flow of abundance. This is your moment to step forward, not in performance or impatience, but in presence. The universe is already listening. Will you answer?